Hello, Atticus and Max, and thank you for sharing the game you played, which was a very interesting one. It was a two knights, and the two knights can lead to all kinds of really exciting and tactical positions, and that does happen in this game as well. All right, white played d3, trying to keep things quiet, and here black played d6, which is a little bit inaccurate. So it would be better to play either bishop to c5 or the very aggressive d5, or if you want to keep things quiet, bishop to e7 is pretty good. One important point is that if white goes knight to g5 here, it's no big deal. You just castle. And if white takes twice on f7, this is great for black. So little rule to remember, unless it's generally pretty late in the endgame, two minor pieces are going to be much more effective than a rook and a pawn, especially in a late opening or middle game situation like this is. So bishop to e7 would have been the way to play it safe. So d6 is an attempt to play it safe too, but the problem is that now white can play knight to g5, and it's a free move because we're ganging up on f7, and after d5 and e takes d5, it's like a regular two knights, except that white has gotten this move in for free because black wasted a move going first d6 and then d5. So white is going to have a pretty big advantage here. So watch out for that. And again, if you want to play it kind of quietly, go bishop to e7 here. Bishop c5 is a joko. Anyway, let's move on. So d6, white played knight to c3, black played bishop to g4 pinning, and now we need to talk about this situation. So when you've got a pin here, it's not dangerous for white unless white has castled. So as long as you haven't castled, it's really not such a big deal. One reason is that you can just chase this chase this bishop away with h3, and if it drops back, then you go g4, and after bishop to g6, this bishop is stuck behind this mighty wall of white pawns. So it's a pretty bad piece, and not only is it really shut in where it is, it's not obvious where it's going to go to do anything anyway. So this would be good for white. So in the game, white played bishop to g5, offering or creating a pin of his own, but that one's easily broken. However, before breaking it, what black should do here, I think, is play knight to d4 and gang up on this poor pinned knight. One important point in black's favor is that now white has a real problem with the king. Castling kingside would be semi-suicidal, and if you play queen to d2 trying to castle queenside, well, there's an even bigger problem. Bishop takes f3, and if you recapture, then knight f3 forks the king and the queen, and black obviously wins here. So h6 was played instead. Not a terrible move, but it would have been better to play knight to d4. Now here in the game, white played bishop to h4, g5, bishop g3, and now we've got the exact same thing, but kind of flipped around. Now it's white with the bad bishop shut in behind this wall of 5 black pawns. So that was a nice outcome for black. Here after h6, white had a really cool idea. So let me show you this quickly. It's beautiful. Bishop takes f6, queen f6, knight to d5, queen to d8, and now a very cool move, knight to e3. And this breaks the pin. You might say, well, how does this break the pin? Can't the bishop go back to h5? Well, it can, but now white has a great opportunity. So pause the video, figure it out. Here it is. Ready? Knight takes e5. Spectacular stuff here. So if the knight takes the knight, or if the pawn takes the knight, we play queen takes bishop, we've won a pawn, life is good. But you might be wondering, well, wait a minute, why can't black just take the free queen? Well, it's a queen. It's not free, though. Bishop takes f7 check, king to e7, and knight to d5. Checkmate. We've got Legal's mate on the board. It's a super cool mating pattern. Doesn't come up very often, but when it does, it's occasion for celebration. So white had that possibility. Not that it was forced, but after knight to e3, bishop h5, then it was there. All right, so back to the game. Bishop h4, g5, bishop g3. And really what I'm going to be saying over the next few moves is that black should have piled up on the pinned knight. So knight to d4 would have been very strong. After queen to d7, white should stop knight to d4 by playing bishop to b5. And we're going to see this in the next few moves too. So after castles, black should play knight to d4. After black castled, white, after h3, bishop h5, should play bishop to b5. And after queen to e1, yeah, now a new phase begins. So white has unpinned the knight, but at the cost of undermining the defense of the knight on f3. So now black can and should just take this knight and wreck the white pawn structure. And now you can play either queen takes h3, just thank you very much, Or play knight to d4, threatening a couple of forks, and also still threatening queen takes h3, and black is winning. So in the game, black played a6, which gave white the chance to run away, which should have been taken. Knight to d2, or knight to h2, but something to get out of the way of bishop takes knight. So after knight to d5, takes, black had one more chance to go bishop takes f3, and then ultimately play queen takes the pawn on h3. So for example, in this position, and black would still be winning here. In the game, though, black got careless with knight to b4, and that can happen, right? Everything is going so smoothly. It seems like we're making all the threats, and we forget that our opponent can defend and make threats and, spoil our plans. So this looks good because it threatens this fork and also to exchange off this nice bishop, but queen takes b4 is a problem, and white went on to win the game. So we've got to be careful. Even when things are going our way, mistakes are possible. All right, I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.